say it to your
And you could be
keyboard.
playing music to
that would be sweet,
for the whole
huh?
time, yes. And be more comfortable sitting in front of the keyboard. Next time.
Yeah.
The cat's meow. Sitting in my kitchen after teaching philosophy, I discovered the meaning of life. We're all like white blood cells in the body of the universe, doing what we can to help when we're called. Just like my father, a fireman, did whenever there was a fire. After this thought ends, from my rooftop, I hear a meowing cry. I might have ignored another time, but since tonight, answering calls is the meaning of life, I walk onto the roof where I see a skinny calico cat and give it some milk. In the morning, with my girlfriend's help, I take the cat down the fire escape. The cat grasps the railing. But since I and my sweetheart are stronger than a 7-pound cat, we get it down to the ground and leave it there. The cat crawls under the first car it sees and stays there. I have to get the cat out. My girlfriend says, "You now have a cat." When I call the cat Uni, which stands for universe, when I call his name, it reminds me, keep meowing for response and responding to meows.
Great. I'm here with Michael Coran, who is about to publish Verse to Better, a poem for every day of the year. And why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started writing these poems?
A former girlfriend who had left me, maybe wisely, she was much younger than I was, and then she left her, the next man also, and moved to New York City. And I felt a little toward her like a father. And I wanted to help her. She struggles the way I did with life. And I knew she loved these books, like these daily reminders, you know, how to make it through the day, and you read a little excerpt and it would have a little phrase of how you should live. And so I started sending her one a day for 2 years. And so that's how it began.
Wonderful. It sounds like she had a wonderful friend from that. And from this, how it seems like it's now evolved into a book that you were about to publish.
Well, thanks.
So
Much thanks. Could I tell the audience about our relationship to these poems or not?
you can, a little bit.
So I really lucked out. So I'm writing these poems and I meet you. And I asked you, which I had asked many people, can I send you a poem a day or a poem a week? And you said yes. And that's how we got to know one another. I was sending you poems. So I got my karma if I've been nice.
That's true. It was
Yes.
it was a good bait to
Yes,
reel me in.
yes.
That's for sure. So.
That's really,
And-
what a gift.
Yes, yeah. Well, they truly are wonderful gifts. Some are romantic, so that's been wonderful. And many are actually, there's really quite a lot to it. So we can spend a little time touching upon some of the different types of poems that are in here. Would you like to read your poem? It reminds me of your girlfriend that initially inspired this, Barbara, who is a clown, professional clown in New York. And would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Crown clowns. Let's be clowns when we're down. Bounce off the ground, so are frowns. Upside down, smile. Astound. I'd like to read them twice, is that all right?
Yeah, great.
Crown
Sounds good.
clowns. Let's be clowns when we're down. Bounce off the ground so our frowns upside down smile. Astound. So I thought these are like helpful. I need to read these myself when I'm feeling down, and to go down to the ground with a frown, and then so
With a different perspective,
Yes,
it's actually
yes.
a smile.
yes. So next time I'm frowning,
Yeah.
really smiling.
Yeah.
Or maybe you too. Yes,
So-
yes, many of us. Yes.
Yes, yeah. So that could be a wonderful poem to send to someone who is feeling down.
Yep.
So wonderful. So could you talk a little bit about how did you come up with the title Verse to Better?
I found out that someone else had used it, which is really sad because I knew these were. I'm a teacher, so I knew this was the name of the book. These are verses, and it's also the verses to help us get better. And there's worse, like when you're frowning, and right, when you're frowning, and how to get better. So it was really what I wanted to say. These are verses to help us move from verse to better. And I was really happy to discover, if you don't know this, that titles cannot be copyright. You could write a book, Moby Dick. Gone with the Wind by Michelle Ann Scow.
Oh, that's interesting.
You cannot you cannot patent a book title. I'm not sure why, but I was very happy to discover that I can use verse to better too.
Oh, so how come it fits so nicely for you?
Well, most of the poems are written when I'm feeling worse. And there's somehow writing the poems to you and Barbara and others, about 70 or 80 people now, I'm even making the poems. It's like I have a friend, he's a psychologist and he's married to a psychologist. And she says she wants to help the people who come to her to put words on their feelings. For example, I remember once I was feeling very bad and I discovered I was lonely. I was so happy. I knew what was going on, and then maybe if I was brave, I could go out and call somebody or talk to somebody. But it was so nice to know in the confusion. So she wants to help people find words for the confusion that they're going through. And he, since he's a man, married to her, wanted to do it better, maybe. He said he wanted to help people put poetry to their feelings. And I find it doesn't help me anymore to just write journals. I wrote journals for 50 years, really. The first journal I wrote, I went to a baseball field, and I had a big artist's pen, and I wrote on an artist's pad, "What is to be done?" It was really out, in some way far away, rather than "what should I do?" What is to be done? And then I started writing answers, like big letters, love, and I can't do that anymore. I need to write a poem that is in some ways interesting to somebody else. And if one person is interested, or at least I think they might be, I could take these confused feelings that I have many, 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 many mornings. I think you understand this a little. And just like I found out I was lonely, find out what is going on with these confused feelings, and can they be energy or material for, like lonely would move me to call someone. If I'm feeling down, frowning, can I play with that feeling until I turn it into something that's a poem that is fun? So, and not only fun, is since I'm a teacher, that can help us, tell us, very teachy, what to do when we're feeling that way. Even the first poem about uni, the poems seem to be teaching poems. You know, respond to meows, and meow if you want response. That was what that was about. So I have to remember this. So when Uni meows, and I like to ignore Uni, I have to say, oh wait, I wrote a poem about Uni that I have to respond to meows. Okay, I sometimes respond and pet him. He really knows how to meow. He's an expert at meowing, as you know. Meow! Like the world is ending if you don't meow him. And I have to remember, Uni, I wrote this poem, I should pet you. So at least sometimes I do.
Yeah. So actually, how old was Uni when the experience of the poem was written?
I took Uni to the vet, and they couldn't decide whether Uni was a male or a female. It's very hard. And they looked carefully and said a male, and they guessed that he was 1 year old.
Oh, okay.
They guessed he was 1 year old.
Yeah, so,
Right.
And Uni is how old?
19
19.
now, as an outdoor cat, which is
Yeah.
very rare, really rare. Got hurt once, and he did have one of these big collars on, so he couldn't lick his wound which was hard for him.
Yeah. Huh. Well, so that, so you just got to a point where writing a journal was not enough, and taking difficult and confusing emotions and sorting that out through a process with poetry, and having people, even one person, finding to give it to, actually has been helpful, and that it actually comes back to you in some ways, such as when you see your cat, that it reminds you sometimes of that, and in fact, you might reach out and pet him a little more.
When he meows, yes, I have to. I wrote this. Yes.
So, well, that's, yeah. Well, I personally, I find much to my fascination and enjoyment that your poems, time and time again, teach and share about healing and transformation, and I find that immensely satisfying. For one, I think hopefully we'll get to the poem that you sing about hate, and there's something really relieving about hearing that sung and acknowledged, that creates a relief and a something maybe heart-opening about that. And then other poems I also think have taught me about the mind-body connection and integrating. What is coming to mind now is Way Ahead, which maybe we'll have a chance to talk about that. I think that the title is really appropriate, and I think it makes sense if you're allowed to copy that person's name, that because it fits, that's good. So, yeah. So I think you shared with me that there's a lot of poems about transformation of pain, and I wondered if you want to talk a little bit about that. At one point you had shared that your brother summed up poetry in Cambridge in one way. So
In one word.
in one word.
Yes.
Okay, so what was that?
My brother gets up and he says, I'd like to summarize
Yeah.
all the poetry in Cambridge in one word. Pain! And in many ways, I think in many ways that's true. Way more than joy. I'd like it to be joy. I wrote a poem about I wish I could learn from joy rather than pain.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
sometimes you can learn both ways.
Yes, I
and
would like-
it's
yes.
right. If you're lucky to walk the joy road, then
Yes.
yeah. Well, since not all of us walk the joy road, it's nice to hear about how to transform pain. And some of the poems that come to mind with that, I wondered if you wanted to read Cat Pats, since we're on the cat theme.
Yes. These are yes. These are haikus, 17 syllables, 5, 7, 5. Cat pats. When you lightly brush my skin, again and again, I purr through my pain. Cat pats. When you lightly brush my skin, again and again, I purr through my pain.
Nice. And maybe another one, More Pain, More Gain.
More pain, raw gain. To be stuck in pain and depression is an unavoidable lesson that I'm blocking something shocking that understood will be a blessing. More pain, raw gain. To be stuck in pain and depression is an unavoidable lesson that I'm blocking something shocking that understood will be a blessing. Oh my. Makes me cry a bit.
Is just right now, is there any example that comes to mind of that happening for you? I can share something for me that it helps
good,
me get in
good.
touch with.
Yes.
I remember with dance, I was painfully self-conscious for many years with dance. I even had someone come up to me that seemed sympathetic towards me when I was on the dance floor, because I was very self-conscious and it was a difficult time. And there was a time when suddenly I realized that the joy of dancing was bigger than my fear of dancing. And there's a point, I don't know when it happened, but it was almost a proportion that could propel that joy in such a way that there was a time now where that's not even, it doesn't exist for me anymore. The self-consciousness of dancing truly does not exist, and the joy became greater than the fear of dancing. And I think that's reminds me of that. So,
Thank
yeah.
you. That's,
yeah.
I think it was very
Yeah.
recently that I was attacking myself. Everybody's got their hobbies.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I realized, I mean, I've realized this many times before, that it's me that's doing it. I mean, my father, as I said, was a fireman, and for many, many years, like 25, I imagined an axe hitting me in the head. Everyone's got their hobbies, and to make it through the day. And then I realized, first I saw him holding the axe, and then I realized it was really me. But it still felt like it was coming from somewhere else. And last night I realized, oh my, that's me that's attacking me. And that's so strong. I have, wow, I'm much stronger than I thought. And I was actually happy to discover that that's me. And I have that power. And then maybe I don't have to do it even, because that's me doing it, not somebody else. So that was,
Wow.
that was pain and depression that understood will be a blessing. So all of this stuff is because all of the things that are going on in our psyche, they're all me. And if I could get them to dance like you dance, then dance together joyfully, then that's a wonderful, that's a way of dancing that you've learned.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I think this is the new age, and so we're trying to be more conscious and understand. And it seems like that's truly a freeing moment when that happens. So. Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that. When I first met you, you had the Rumi poem, The Guest House, on your door. And it's a poem about acceptance of various emotions. In particular, I remember there's something about even malice, invite them to tea and as an invited guest. And so I just, your poems also sometimes speak to acceptance. So how can we learn to accept ourselves and all these different sides of ourselves that are truly alive, even though we might not want them to really be there. So I'm thinking about a couple here. Rainbowing is one that kind of speaks to a subtleness. So would you like to share that one?
Rainbowing. always in between, who I'd like to be and am, enjoying the span, rainbowing, always in between, who I'd like to be and am, enjoying the span. And maybe if I can remember the poem, it might help me do it.
Oh,
I need
would
these
you like to
poems.
look?
What?
Oh, if you
No,
can remember it for
yeah.
yourself.
Yes,
Yeah,
I need this
well.
book. I need this book for myself to look at
Wow,
and remember.
that's wonderful. Yeah, yeah. Well, what I like about that is there is something about if you can find acceptance, for example, that distance between who you are and who you'd like to be, and if you
Yes.
can actually rest in that kind of unusual place,
Yes.
because you don't want to just stay at where you are if you really are yearning to be someplace else. And this imagery is that you end up going down the rainbow to the pot of gold if you can stay in that in-between place with that. So that's really wonderful.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. One writer
Yeah.
I like, Thomas Mann, said he learned what his words were about by reading his critics. So thank you for the pot of gold. I didn't think of it in that way.
Nice. Yeah. And some poems of yours are songs. So there's the one actually I referred to at the beginning when we were talking that just came to mind is this one. And this is called Hate Date. If you would like to sing that, I would love to, I think we would all love to hear it.
So would you go out with a man who sang this poem to you? And you did. I hate everybody I do. I hate everybody I do. I hate everybody I do, especially you. I hate everybody I see. I hate everybody I see. I hate everybody I see, especially me. And you did.
Well, I know what's behind it.
Yes. What is behind it? Yes.
Yeah, it makes me laugh and
Oh.
feel good. So
Oh my. Yes.
yeah, it's acceptance. So it's actually more dangerous when it's not expressed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So.
And this is on tape.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it makes me smile and feel touched. So, yeah. So you've shared with me the value of the role of friends have played in your life. And how can we make good friends? So, would you like to read your poem on Judgment Days?
On Judgment Days, all I can say, on Judgment Day, all I can say, washing machine, help me be clean. I didn't know I made these stains that on so many clothes remains. Thank God my friend recommends shout, which gets almost all these stains out. On Judgment Days, all I can say is, washing machine, help me be clean. I didn't know I made these stains that on so many clothes remain. Thank God my friend recommends shout, which gets almost all these stains out.
Yeah. So that, would you like to speak more to, I think at one point you had talked with me even elevating friends to the point of relating it to how, thinking that it's almost like a teaching of the importance of friends with the resurrection of Jesus.
Oh my.
How pulling him off the cross and enabling a resurrection and realizing how vital. Would you like to speak to that just a
I might have
little
a
bit?
poem about that.
Oh, you might have a poem
Maybe
about that.
if you can
Well,
find it. Oh, as far as friends go, however, I have a song if you'd like.
oh, okay. Yeah.
First poem in the book.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If you ever need a friend who will love you through the end, I'm your friend through the end. I'm your friend. If you ever need love that fits you like a glove, I'm your love, like a glove. I'm your love. If you fly through the sky, I will fly nearby. If you fall from the sky, I will glide by your side. So wherever we go, even when we're like foes, we are friends, loving friends through the end.
Beautiful. That was actually the first poem I got, and I've heard you sing that to many of your friends, actually. So it has a wider range.
Well, the one about Jesus, if you like,
Okay.
it's called Springing Singing. It's true of you to me too. Friends tending our wounds, exhumed tomb, wombing, blooming, us through doom illumined. Springing, singing, friends tending our wounds, exhumed tomb, wombing, blooming, us through doom illumined. It's a lot. 70s. But I thought that I like to call him Joshua, that his friends took him off the cross after about 3 hours. Most people don't die. As painful as crucifixion is, it's usually you eventually can't breathe. So they took him off the cross, and he might have been flatlined or dead.
You mean like how long does it take before
It takes
they can't breathe?
usually longer.
Longer than 3 hours?
Yes, even Pontius Pilate said, "So soon you took him off?"
Oh.
And and he could have been flatlined and dead, as many people are, and his friends caring for him helped him, and tending his wounds helped him revive. The word then they used was resurrect. Either one is fine. The reason I like revive is then all of us, when we feel crucified and flatlined and tombed and doomed, If right, our friends can really, they really are needed. And he helped create these friends by loving them. And they loved him back. He got his karma and was revived. And so I like to think in fact, I know we do that for one another. Friends do that for one another.
So even if it's something as simple as recommending shout for your stains.
Yes.
Yes.
And helping don't be so stained. That's like, don't give myself away as a person who's very stained.
Yes. Yeah.
But friends even tell each other stories. Your story, they can give you a frame. So Joshua, according to Jesus Christ Superstar, was, according to, at least according to Judas, was getting into non-violence, going into the temple and beating people, which is very different from his belief, turn the other cheek and love your enemies. And he might have, because it's very hard, lost it for a while. But his friends helped him be revived and told the story and shaped his story, saying, in some ways he knew this. He knew he was going to die for us, because he was in some ways doing it daily by healing people. It was not an easy job to be healing people day after day after day. And so they said, they at least told the story, the good news, that this is a man who daily died for us. And even if he lost his nonviolent nature at the end for a day, everyone has a bad day, they said, oh, well, that was his anger, his justifiable prophetic anger against the fact that religions, any religion, organized religion, was not doing this job that they were supposed to do, which was to help the poor people in the world. So they took his losing it for a moment and said, oh, well, they even made that, they even told that, good friends will tell that in a loving, positive way, rather than critically the way I am.
Well, you had one friend that actually that the Shout poem was about,
Yes.
who you worked with, I think, for, is it 10 years?
11 now.
11 years, okay, doing some dance, teaching therapy, and what's wonderful is that there's also a lot of poems in here that help integrate the mind and body, which I think you've talked about was very helpful for you.
Yes. You're trapped in your head. Help me, O Lord.
Yes.
Trapped in your mind. Patrick used to say, I actually wrote a song, to get out of your, I don't have it in the book, but to get out of your mind, get into your head, into your head, into your head. To get out of your mind, get into your head. That's how we get ahead. So really, if you feel your head rather than your mind, you can get out of your, you can be freed of, we can be freed of our minds if we really feel the weight of our heads.
That's good teaching. We're surrounded by academia in Boston.
Yes,
it's like one of the highest academically concentrated areas, right? So maybe we have something to learn from some of these. Would you like to share Way Ahead?
Oh, yes. If I can, let's see if I'm still with you. Yes. Way ahead. When our head balances on top of our spine, we get into our head, and out of our mind. Letting weight rebound through feet, seat, heart, crown. We rise through sky while we're rooted in ground. Way ahead, when our head balances on top of our spine, we get into our head and out of our mind, letting weight rebound through feet, seat, heart, crown. We rise through the sky with feet rooted in ground.
Wonderful. I like the change of perspective that allows me, and it also reminds me, we had read David Abram together, and he continually advocated for trying to get back into a sense of place and sensation, and feeling that actually will help the planet with that change of perception. And can you speak to how it's helped you in any way that this is there something that comes to mind when you think about switching that perspective from being in your mind to noticing the sensations and being in your body? Would you like to talk about that?
I remember driving to teach in women's prison in Framingham and feeling crazy and not wanting to be in the prison and talk to people at all, rather be at home in bed, lying down. But it was time to teach. And I'm driving and I don't know what to do with these, for even driving, what to do with these very crazy feelings. And I remember what Patrick taught me, and the poem helps. Okay, I'm just going to sense the steering wheel and feel my body, and I really could let the crazy feelings not even leave. I just wasn't in my mind anymore. When I work with Patrick Crowley, I often, especially me from the University of Chicago, want to tell him what I want to do today, and he won't let me speak. I say, this is the agenda. He says, floor. And I have to go down to the floor and begin to move. And if I can move and tell him the agenda, then he will listen. So he really wants me.
So he's a real teacher of the body.
Yes, especially me, he knows.
Embodying the body.
Yes, not to get in to my body. And then maybe I can get into my mind again.
All right. There's another mind-body poem that I wondered if you would read for us today. Skeletons Keep That Grin.
Skeletons keep that grin. Jaws with and without skin, and pelvic bowls always grin. So even while bones turn to dust, smiles are habits we can trust. Skeletons keep that grin. Jaws with and without skin, and pelvic bowls always grin. So even while bones turn to dust, smiles are habits we can trust.
That's great. Knowing that that's deep inside us, that there's
Yes.
a couple of smiles.
Yes, even
Going
when we're,
in our bones.
when we're buried, yes,
Yeah.
we're going to be smiling, yes.
All right. Let's see. You have so you have some wonderful poems that I think seem heartening, and in kind of a whole way. So I wondered if you could share with us the poem All in All and More.
Mine? No.
No?
Not so easy.
That's right.
No? Do you have it here?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I'd be very delighted to share that with you. Oh, my. All in all and more. God simply everything and everyone and more. And so are we, thank God. All in all and more. God's simply everything and everyone and more. And so are we. Thank God. Thanks for reminding me.
My yoga teacher often will say, remember that we are infinite, have infinite possibility. So he uses that as an inspiration. So there are some poems that are good romantic poems that are good ones to send to a sweetheart, and they were, some of yours were written before I knew you, and yet they still, even though I know I wasn't the inspiration, they're so clear and that they still touch my heart.
Wow, that's very sweet of you.
So, not that I don't like a few poems that are written for me, but yeah, so I wondered if you'd share, You've a Smile Inside.
It's true of you too, sweetheart. More
Okay.
true of you.
Mm-hmm.
You've a smile inside, brighter than the sun. You've a smile inside, purer than a nun. You've a smile inside, funnier than fun. When you smile outside, we're warmer than sun.
I think we've all experienced that from many people, and children as well, and elderly. Let's see. Well, we have just about 5 more minutes. So another song I love is, if you'd like to sing, or we could also talk a little bit about the publishing process that you've chosen. What's alive for you right now?
Well, this one I wrote when I was alone. This song.
Okay.
Not to anyone.
Oh, really? Stay with Love's Way?
Stay with Love's
Oh,
Way.
isn't that
yeah.
interesting? It's such an inspirational. I love this song, so that's so interesting. So
Yeah.
it's also an inspiration for oneself as well as within a relationship. It can be used, but you wrote it originally when you were by yourself for inspiration
Yes.
toward yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, if you could, yeah, that would be wonderful to hear this.
It was originally Stay with the Way, and then I changed it.
Oh, okay. So how would you know it was the way? I wonder. That's the question. It's probably
Well,
a big question.
Well, what feels alive, as you were saying?
Yeah.
If it feels alive, and it takes courage to stay with what's alive rather than.
Well, I forget who it was that said that you're in the self if you're able to be compassionate and
confident. Yes.
I wonder who said that.
It's in internal family systems.
That was my friend Benita Silver, who's an internal systems family therapist. She defines self. Yes. You're in self. Okay. When you're being
confident, compassionate. There's 5 more C's.
Oh, okay.
Courageous, perhaps.
Yeah,
Curious.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, well, maybe this is a song about that.
This'll, you could hold me to this song. Stay with love's way. Don't run away. We'll be surprised before our eyes. We'll reach our dreams beyond our schemes, letting love's way show us the way. Stay with love's way. Don't run away. We'll be surprised before our eyes. We'll reach our dreams beyond our schemes, letting love's way show us the way.
Great. Yeah. Well, let's see. We're almost out of time. I wondered if you could end with a poem and then a poem song. I was thinking.
We could sing this together.
So again, this is from A Verse to Better
30 seconds.
by Michael Coran.
Yes.
366 poems. One includes one for a leap year, is it? Yeah.
Why don't we sing this together, sweetie?
Okay.
Love.
Oh, and
fun in shade and sun, and health and wealth to our dear ones, and everyone can love and fun in shade and sun, and health and wealth to our dear ones, and everyone.
Nice. Great. Well, thanks for